Listen carefully. The world has been reset. Systems stumbled. Schedules shattered. Idols toppled. And the noise of confusion grew loud. But hear me. This is not a disaster to survive. This is an appointment to lead. Make a note of this. When history shakes, heaven looks for leaders. Not celebrities. Not image curators. Leaders. I came to announce a charge, a father's charge, for every person within the sound of my voice. This is for everyone. Housewives and single fathers, students and teachers, entrepreneurs and mechanics, CEOs and janitors, artists and accountants, pastors and deacons, mayors and parliamentarians, nurses and engineers, influencers, and those who think no one knows their name. Read together. Reset, accept it now. Rebuild with discipline. Say it again so your soul hears it. Reset, accept it now. Rebuild with discipline. Write this down. Chaos exposes character. Resets reward, rhythm. When the winds came, what stood was not charisma, it was character. What survived was not public relations, it was private resolve. True leadership is not about control, it is about service. True leadership is not about power, it is about empowerment. True leadership is really not about people, it is about purpose. Because purpose is what shapes the way you serve people. Most of what we call leadership before the reset was the management of image, not the stewardship of purpose. We dressed decay in designer suits and called it influence. We photoshopped reputation and forsook responsibility. But the reset turned the lights on. Woe to the land, says Ecclesiastes, when a slave becomes king, when an insecure soul sits on a high chair, ruling with fear and appetite. We saw it. And now the king has given us a window to rebuild. Let me confess to you like a father. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning arguing with God over this moment. I said, Lord, what do we tell them when everything seems uncertain? And he whispered a simple scripture, let all things be done decently and in order. That's 1 Corinthians 14:40. Order is not a luxury, it is a command. Discipline is not punishment, it is the path to dignity. Hebrews 12:11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness. Later is where peace lives. Later is where credibility lives. The reset is the mercy of God giving you a later if you will choose discipline now. Write this down again. Your calendar is your credibility. Your schedule is your steward. Do not tell me your values. Show me your rhythms. Leadership lives where habits hide. The difference between a storm and a structure is order. Habakkuk said, write the vision and make it plain. Why write? Because unwritten intentions produce undisciplined days. Because clarity requires a pen before it requires applause. Read together. Reset, accepted. Now rebuild with discipline. Some of you lost the platform you thought you needed, and you are grieving a title that was never yours in the first place. Reduce yourself to your first name again. Titles are crutches for broken identities. Purpose does not need a throne. It needs a plan. Where did he make you one? That's the question. Who told you you were a leader because they gave you a seat? Leadership is not a chair. It is a choice repeated daily. Proverbs 25:28 says, like a city broken down and without walls is a person who lacks self-control. Write this down. Discipline is the wall that protects your influence. Without walls, even truth is plundered. So here is our appointment. We will rebuild through rhythm. Not hype, not events, not slogans. Rhythm, simple, daily, weekly, monthly. Why? Because God governs creation with rhythm. Evening and morning, Sabbath and work, seed time and harvest. Leadership that rebels against rhythm, rebels against reality. Make a note of this. The reset did not change the laws of God. It revealed who was violating them. I am going to be very practical with you, because prophetic clarity must land in practical hope. In this journey, we will take together. We will establish daily disciplines that guard your soul, weekly audits that repair trust, and monthly reviews that anchor legacy. Not complicated, not glamorous, but powerful. Because resets reward rhythm. The storm exposed your scaffolding. The rhythm will rebuild your structure. Don't wait for inspiration. Schedule it. Don't wait for accountability. Install it. Don't wait for legacy. Measure it. Read together. Reset. Accept it now. Rebuild with discipline. I want every mother to hear me. Your kitchen table can become a boardroom of destiny if you submit it to order. Every student, listen, your notebook can become a nation builder's archive if you submit it to rhythm. Every pastor, hear the correction in love. Your pulpit is not a stage for improvisation. It is an altar of stewardship. Order it. Every politician, brace yourself. Your office is not a theater for opinions. It is a workshop for principles. Discipline it. Politicians are concerned about the next election. Leaders are concerned about the next generation. Discipline is how you move from politics to statesmanship. Write this down. Emotion is a great passenger, but a terrible pilot. Do not let your feelings fly the plane in a fog. Discipline keeps the hand steady on the yoke when visibility is low. The psalmist said, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Number your days, count them, order them, steward them. Wisdom comes to the calendar that bows to purpose. Let me say it again. The way a father repeats himself because he loves you. True leaders don't manipulate, they inspire. But inspiration without implementation is irritation. The reset has made people allergic to empty words. They want evidence. Evidence comes from rhythm. Evidence comes from the quiet repetition of wise choices when no one is watching. Evidence comes from showing up daily, auditing weekly, reviewing monthly, until trust is rebuilt and legacy is set in motion. We begin here with a decision, not a feeling, not a mood, a decision. Read together, reset, accept it now, rebuild with discipline. I want you to speak to your own soul. I accept the reset. I reject the facade. I embrace the rhythm. Make a note of this last line for today. The future will not be inherited by the talented. It will be entrusted to the disciplined. And I am looking at entrusted men and women right now. You are necessary. You were born for this moment. Now, let us rebuild decently and in order. What broke was not merely the building, not simply the board, not just the ballot. It was belief. Institutions shook, yes, but the real collapse was confidence. Promises ran ahead of character. Image outran integrity. Statements outpaced statutes written in the soul. Make a note of this. The only thing a leader has to work with is trust. Read together. The only thing a leader has to work with is trust. If you lose that, you have nothing to spend, nothing to exchange, nothing to negotiate with. You can have titles, you can have budgets, you can have microphones, you can have likes and followers, but if the people do not trust you, you are a well-dressed echo making noise in a hollow room. Write this down. True leadership is not about position, it is about permission. People do not follow you because you sit in a chair, they follow you because you carry a conviction. True leadership is not authority over people, it is authority from purpose. When purpose authorizes you, people recognize something ancient and holy: consistency, sacrifice, fidelity. A position may open a door to a room. Permission opens a door to a heart. Positions can be taken. Permission must be given. And it is given only to those who keep promises. Proverbs says, a good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. Why? Because a name is a trust account. Your face is a promissory note. Your signature is currency. I want you to write this down. Your mouth writes checks, your character must cash. If character is bankrupt, the community collects its debt with interest. Ask any nation that believed slogans and woke up with sorrow. Ask any congregation that traded the quiet integrity of shepherds for the stagecraft of performers. Ask any child who watched a parent promise attendance and deliver absence. When trust breaks, the soul limps. Let me confess as a father, I too have paid for every shortcut with compound interest in trust. I remember saying yes too quickly to please a room, and then spending weeks rebuilding with phone calls, humble apologies, and re-earning eyes that had gone dim. I argue with God at ungodly hours because I had to face one question. Are you going to be a leader who fuels moments with words, or a leader who funds futures with truth? Let your yes be yes and your no be no, Jesus said. Simplicity and integrity are twins. The more complicated your explanations become, the more likely you are covering a deficit somewhere in your soul. Make a note of this. Trust doesn't vanish in an explosion. It evaporates by degrees. 5 minutes late becomes a culture of excuse. One unreturned call becomes a pattern of avoidance. A hidden cost becomes a habit of manipulation. And suddenly, your credibility ledger reads red, which brings me to a question. If trust is the currency, where is your account? Overdrawn or accruing interest? Don't be defensive. Be honest. Do a quick audit in your mind right now. Who lent you that confidence and has not yet received the agreed return? Who gave you permission to speak into their life and got a counterfeit? Who funded you with fidelity and you paid them back with charm? Write their names down when you get home. Yes, I said write them down. And make an appointment to repair the debt. Now hear this clearly. With love and firmness. Discipline is the vault that protects trust. Say it to your own heart. Discipline is the vault that protects trust. If trust is currency, discipline is your safe, your lock, your code. Without it, even honest people lose valuables. 1 Corinthians reminds us it is required of stewards that they be found faithful, located, discovered, audited, tested. Faithfulness is not a sentiment, it is a system. And systems require discipline. True leadership is therefore predictable, not in inspiration, but in integrity. You may be creative, you may surprise with solutions, you may innovate and improvise with excellence, but your honesty must never be a surprise. Reliability should be your reputation. Psalm 15 paints the portrait. The person who swears to his own hurt and does not change. That is trust leadership. You keep your word even when it costs you. You apologize before you are caught. You report your own errors before they become scandals. You do not hide invoices in the drawer of tomorrow. You do not outsource your conscience to a public relations firm. Write this down. Trust is built in deposits and destroyed in withdrawals. Deposits look like this. Show up when you said. Do it how you said. Own it when you fail. Tell the truth when it's inconvenient. Give credit freely. Take blame justly. Keep confidences. Pay debts. Return calls. Respect time. Withdrawals look like this. Justify lateness. Shift blame. Exaggerate wins. Minimize losses. Leak secrets. Promise beyond capacity. Hide conflicts. Flatter the powerful. Ignore the vulnerable. Every day is a banking day. Heaven is watching your ledger. Humans are watching your ledger. And your own soul is either at rest or at risk because of it. Let me correct a myth that Greek and Roman models taught us, that charisma can compensate for character. No. Make a note of this. Charisma may attract, but only character attaches. People may come to your light. They will stay for your life. The Romans built arches that still stand. Some of our leaders can't build a week that stands because their word is rubber. You are not called to be a weather vane spinning with the wind. You are called to be a compass anchored to true north. And the needle is discipline. I want to ask you again, like a father who believes you can change. Where's your trust account? Don't talk to me about the economy or the algorithm or the opposition. Talk to me about your deposits. Have your children learn to relax when you speak. Have your employees stop bringing a notepad to record your promises because they know it is all fog. Have your citizens learn to clap without believing. Woe to the land, Ecclesiastes warns, when a slave becomes king, when insecurity sits on the throne and uses words as weapons and promises as bait. We will not lead like that after the reset. We will rebuild a surplus of trust. Here is the revelation that must govern you. Not about position. It is about permission. Not about authority over people, but authority from purpose. When you find your purpose, your yes becomes rare and precious. Your no becomes holy. Your calendar becomes prophetic. Luke records a principle. Whoever is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Write this down. Little is where trust grows its roots. Minutes, receipts, emails, apologies, edges of time, corners of budget. If you do not honor little, the much will crush you and expose you. So I am going to give you a very simple test you can practice tonight. Ask 3 people who know you privately, your spouse or friend, your colleague, your mentor. One question: on a scale of 1 to 10, how safe is my word? Then listen without defense. Do not edit their feedback with your pain. Receive it like a deposit slip from heaven, and then schedule 1 act of restitution this week. Pay a late invoice. Return a borrowed item. Admit a quiet failure to a team. These are not small things. These are bricks in the wall of your credibility. Finally, hear me. As a shepherd of your potential, do not despair if your account is low. Banks do not mock small deposits, they multiply them. Start today. Start steady. Write this down. Tiny disciplines, kept consistently, become trust compounded daily, and compounded trust becomes legacy. Our next steps will give you a rhythm to deposit trust every day, to audit it every week, to review it every month. But the decision begins now. Choose the vault. Discipline yourself to protect trust. Say it with me like a vow. I will not spend trust carelessly. I will guard it with discipline. For the only thing a leader has to work with is trust, and by God's grace, we will be found faithful. Before we set the new rhythms, we must break the old spell. Because listen, you did not lose trust only by accident. You inherited habits from thrones that were false. Make a note of this. What you call leadership today was discipled yesterday by philosophies that dressed control in robes and called it destiny. Write this down. What you unlearn determines what you can rebuild. If your mind is still colonized, your calendar will still serve a foreign king. Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewal means demolition before construction. You cannot install purpose on a foundation of myths. Let us expose the inheritance. The Greek believed leadership is a product of natural endowment, birth traits, providence, charisma. That meant the prettiest voice, the strongest jawline, the cleverest tongue, the performer on the stage. These were presumed qualified to rule. They built theaters and trained orators, and we confused eloquence with essence. We baptized charisma and neglected character. We made applause the exam and crowned those who passed with flattery. But true leadership is not about performance. It is about purpose. True leaders don't manipulate, they inspire. And inspiration without integrity is seduction, not service. Then came the Romans, addicted to conquest. They built roads for armies, not for pilgrims. The standard of leadership became expansion by any means. Flags raised, borders redrawn, enemies subdued. Authority flowed from the sword, not from the soul. Peace came at the price of oppression. They called it Pax Romana. But Jesus stood in that empire and whispered treason against their definition. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them. Not so with you. Whoever wants to be great must be your servant. Mark 10:42-45. Write this down. Conquest is not evidence of leadership. Stewardship is. If you trample people to reach a summit, you have not led, you have looted. Then, the cruel miracle. Colonizers baptized control. They took the Greek stage, the Roman sword, and put a cassock on it. Every ideology seeks a theology. Manipulation loves a pulpit. They cherry-pick verses to anesthetize conscience. Submit without context. Slaves obey without freedom's ark. Crown without cross. They taught us to bow to titles while they took our timber. They trained us to love greetings in marketplaces, to chase robes and rings, and to despise our own God-given image. Who told you your accent disqualifies your wisdom? Who convinced you that your skin tone must ask permission to dream? Whoever colonized you convinced you. But Genesis 1:26 thunders a higher law. Let us make man in our image, and let them have dominion. Note the pronoun let them. Not him over her, not one tribe over another, not one class over the rest. Let them. Dominion was given to humanity, not to hierarchies. Read together. Every ideology seeks a theology. What did I say? Every ideology seeks a theology. So discern the doctrine behind the leader. When a politician quotes scripture, ask, is this text freeing or fastening chains? Is it exalting image bearers or excusing predation? Matthew 7:15 warns us, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. Wolves love vestments because they hide fangs. Write this down. If the theology serves the throne more than the people, it is idolatry wearing a cross. This is why our streets fill with titles and our homes starve for truth. We became well-dressed slaves with crowns. We polish our regalia while our souls limp. We sit in big chairs but borrow conviction. We fight to be called bishop, doctor, minister, honorable, while the city cries, where is justice? Where is mercy? Where is consistency? Jesus rebuked the title addiction. They love the place of honor and to be called rabbi by others. The greatest among you shall be your servant. Matthew 23. Write this down. Titles inflate. Towels authenticate. The King of Kings, washed feet. True leadership is not the right to be addressed. It is the readiness to address needs. Ecclesiastes cries like a siren. Woe to you, O land, when your king is a child. 10:16. Hear me well. Woe to the land when a slave mentality becomes king, when insecurity occupies a throne it cannot fill. Power without purpose becomes predation. An insecure leader will use people as food and opinions as armor. They will guard their image like a god and sacrifice the future like a lamb. This is why we must unlearn, because if the child on the inside of you, undiscipled, unhealed, unpurposed, gets a crown, the nation will pay therapy bills for generations. So how do we strip the myths? Write this down. Unlearn charisma as qualification. Replace it with character and purpose. Unlearn conquest as proof. Replace it with stewardship and service. Unlearn baptized control. Replace it with covenant and consent. Unlearn the addiction to titles. Replace it with the fruit of function. Unlearn the theater of leadership. Replace it with the workshop of discipline. John 8:32 says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Let me add this. The truths you unlearn set you freer still. Some of you must resign from the stage your ego built so you can step into the assignment your spirit was born for. Test every leader, starting with the one in your mirror. Ask 4 questions this week. What is your purpose? What are your principles? Who benefits when you win? What price are you willing to pay to protect trust? If the answers orbit self-preservation, you are listening to Rome in a new costume. If the answers dignify people, distribute power, protect the vulnerable, and prioritize the future, you are tasting kingdom. Zechariah 4:6 reminds us, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Might builds empires, spirit builds people. Decide which temple you serve. Let me confess to you like a father. I had to repent for enjoying the sound of applause more than the weight of accountability. I once argued with God at midnight while reading my own introduction pages of honorifics and biography. He asked me a simple question. If they stripped the adjectives, would you still have authority? He told me, reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. I obeyed. And do you know what I discovered? When titles fall away, truth must stand up. When the stage dims, purpose must switch on. And when purpose leads, people are safe. Now reclaim a higher vision of human dignity. Every face carries the breath of God. Leadership exists to guard that breath, to cultivate it, to release it into gardens of possibility. True leadership is not about people pleasing, it is about people lifting. Not about control, about service, not about power, about empowerment. Genesis says, let them have dominion over fish, birds, earth, not over each other's worth. If you are building a system that elevates some images and erases others, you are not leading, you are rebelling against creation's constitution. So here are your first acts of demolition. For 30 days, fast from titles, introduce yourself by your first name and let your work speak. In your next meeting, let the youngest voice speak first and the most honest voice speak last. That will silence Roman thunder and awaken kingdom wisdom. Audit every slogan you use. If it manipulates fear, delete it. Replace it with promises you can keep and processes you can measure. Remove any policy that treats people as instruments rather than image bearers. And install this verse above your desk. Let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. Order that honors dignity, not order that cements domination. Write this down as we close this chapter of unlearning. What you unlearn determines what you can rebuild. If you unlearn the Greek lie that charisma confers destiny, you will choose leaders for character. If you unlearn the Roman myth that conquest proves greatness, you will measure greatness by generosity. If you unlearn the colonial catechism that control is holy, you will sanctify freedom with responsibility. And then, when discipline builds the vault, trusts will fill it, and your grandchildren will not inherit your chains, they will inherit your courage. Not by might, not by power, but by His Spirit, and by the order of disciplined, dignifying love. Now that we have stripped off the costumes, let us dress authority in its rightful clothes. Make a note of this. Definition is deliverance. Read together. Definition is deliverance. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Free from performance. Free from applause, addiction. Free from the tyranny of trying to look like a leader instead of being one. Write this down. True leadership is not about control. It is about service. True leadership is not about power. It is about empowerment. True leadership is not about people-pleasing. It is about purpose-pleasing. If you get this wrong, you will keep building stages and never build people. Let me give you the core revelation that has to anchor everything that follows. Write this down in bold letters. Leadership is character in action, an internal conviction expressed as consistent service, not occasional heroics, not viral moments, consistent service. Character is invisible until you put it on your calendar. Conviction is secret until it shows up as systems. And service is not sentiment, it is structure. That is why we are installing rhythms daily, weekly, monthly, because character needs a place to act and service needs an order to sustain it. Listen carefully. Control compels, service composes, power hoards, empowerment releases, people-pleasing flatters, purpose-pleasing fathers. Which one are you doing? Ask yourself. When I walk into a room, do people shrink or rise? Do they seek permission to be small or receive permission to become who they were born to be? Jesus said to the rulers of His day, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them. Not so with you. Whoever wants to be great must be your servant. Mark 10:42-45. Not so with you. Read that phrase with me. Not so with you. Authority in the kingdom is not a throne you sit on. It is a towel you carry. Where did He make you one? That's the question, title, or testimony. Where did heaven stamp you? In the ceremony of men or in the consistency of fruit? 1 Peter 5:2-3 says, shepherd the flock of God, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. Example is authority. Testimony is authority. Fruit is authority. Write this down. Title may open a door. Testimony keeps it open. If your badge has to remind us you are in charge, you are not in charge. If your introduction has to be long, your impact is short. Empowerment is the proof you understand authority. How do you evaluate your leadership? Count how many people need you less because you taught them how to think, decide, and serve from purpose. Count how many voices grew stronger because you chose to be a platform, not a performer. Ephesians says, Christ gave gifts to men and gave leaders to equip the saints for the work of ministry. Equip, do you hear the mandate? Not entertain, not enthrone, not enslave, equip. Write this down. The success of a leader is the success of the people. If only your bio is growing, you are failing. Now let us deal with the disease called people-pleasing. Galatians 1:10 confronts us. If I was still trying to please men, I would not be a servant of Christ. Make a note of this. Pleasing people is a trap. Pleasing purpose is a compass. People change with weather. Purpose is steady in storms. People-pleasing spends trust because you will overpromise and underdeliver to avoid discomfort. Purpose-pleasing builds trust because your yes is aligned with assignment and your no is an act of stewardship. Some of you must repent of your polluted yes. Holiness looks like a clean calendar. When you say no to distraction, you are saying yes to destiny. Let me confess as a father who has bled in this arena. I once preached a series I knew the crowd wanted while neglecting the message the Spirit insisted on. The room roared. Heaven was silent. I argued with God at 2 a.m. and He said, do you want applause or do you want authority? I wept and repented. The next week I taught what cut me first. We lost a few fans. We gained a few leaders. Write this down. Authority is expensive. It will cost you vanity. But the returns are eternal, transformed minds, strengthened families, healed systems. Read together. Leadership is the disciplined expression of purpose that empowers others, not the performance of authority over them. What did I say? The disciplined expression. Discipline makes purpose deliverable. Without discipline, purpose is poetry beautiful, but framed and distant. With discipline, purpose becomes policy, practice, and presence visible in schedules, budgets, meetings, and meals. That is why your daily rhythms will guard your motives. Your weekly audits will guard your integrity. And your monthly reviews will guard your legacy. Authority is sustained by order. Here's a test to apply this week. Ask 3 people. You lead 2 questions. Did I make you feel smaller or stronger this month? What decision can you now make without me because I taught you the principle behind it? Then shut up and listen. Do not defend your ego. Receive the report as a mirror from heaven. Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. Let feedback wound your pride so your purpose can heal your practice. I want to free some of you from the theater of leadership. You don't have to perform gravitas. You must produce grace. You don't have to rehearse dominance. You must repeat diligence. Reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. Serve your gift until doors beg you to enter. 2 Timothy 1:6 says, stir up the gift of God which is in you. Stirred by serving, not by showing off. Influence is the perfume of purpose faithfully served. It finds people before your PR does. Woe to the land when a slave becomes king, when insecurity wears a crown and legislates from fear. But blessed is the people when servants become statesmen, when purpose shapes authority and character becomes policy. Write this down. You are not called to manage impressions. You are commissioned to manifest intention. The world after the reset is allergic to theatrics and hungry for truth. Give them the truth expressed as service, enforced by discipline, extended as empowerment. Say this out loud like a vow. I am not a performer of authority. I am a steward of purpose. My power is to empower. My control is self-control. My aim is not to please people. My aim is to please purpose. Now breathe. That is freedom. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Free to serve without fear. Free to say no without guilt. Free to build people without needing their praise. Free to lead decently and in order. Reset, accepted, now rebuild with discipline. Say it with me. Reset, accepted, now rebuild with discipline. Write this down. The post-reset world will not be healed by speeches or spectacles. It will be rebuilt by a triad that must govern every decision: discipline, trust, and the next generation. Make a note of this. Discipline guards character. Character creates trust. Trust grants access to shape generations. Read it together. Discipline guards character. Character creates trust. Trust grants access to shape generations. Let me put the ladder where you can climb it. No discipline, no character. No character, no trust. No trust, no legacy. That is not poetry. That is policy. You can win a moment without discipline. You cannot build a century. You can buy attention without character. You cannot buy credibility. You can manipulate votes without trust. You cannot father a future. Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. That is a 3-generation sentence. God thinks in grandchildren. Write this down. If your strategy ends with your term, you have not led, you have rented. Now hear the contrast that separates politicians from statesmen. Politicians are concerned about the next election. Leaders are concerned about the next generation. What did I say? Politicians chase cycles. Leaders build centuries. Psalm 78 commands, we will tell the next generation, so they should set their hope in God. If your leadership does not increase hope in those not yet born, your platform is a performance, not a stewardship. Make a note of this. Rhythms, not events, rebuild civilizations. Say it again. Rhythms, not events, rebuild civilizations. Genesis is a book of rhythms, evening and morning, Sabbath and labor, seed time and harvest. Jesus lived by rhythms. As was his custom, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath, Luke 4:16. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. Israel rehearsed Jubilee. Heaven runs on order. Hell traffics in chaos. If you want a legacy, install a rhythm. If you want a scandal, chase an event. So let us install the triad as a filter for every decision after the reset. Before you sign a contract, ask, will this require me to violate my disciplines? If yes, walk away. Before you craft a message, ask, will this tell the truth in a way that compounds trust? If no, rewrite it. Before you approve a budget, ask, how does this line help our children's children? If it only buys applause today and invoices tomorrow, cut it. Write this down and put it at the top of your agenda. Does this protect discipline? Does this build trust? Does this serve those not yet here? If you cannot answer yes 3 times, you are negotiating with your own extinction. Discipline is not legalism, it is liberation. 2 Timothy 1-7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Sound mind means self-discipline, governed, steady, measured. The fruit of the Spirit ends with self-control. Galatians 5:23. Why? Because the Spirit knows that without personal order, you cannot carry public influence. Write this down. A leader doesn't need external discipline. They impose on themselves discipline. That self-imposed order becomes visible as character. And character, seen over time, matures into trust. Trust then becomes a bridge to tomorrow. People invite you to speak into their future because your yesterday did not lie. Let me speak as a father. Your children are reading your calendar like scripture. They learn what is holy by what is habitual. If you want to disciple a generation, do not start with a conference. Start with a custom. Deuteronomy 6 says, teach them diligently to your children. Talk of them when you sit, when you walk, when you lie down, when you rise. That is rhythm language. Sit, walk, lie, rise. Your daily settings are sermons. Your weekly audits are catechisms. Your monthly reviews are covenants. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. Write it where your family can run with it. Pin it where your team can pace themselves by it. Post it where your city can hold you to it. Read together. Discipline births character. Character births trust. Trust births legacy. What did I say? Discipline births character. Character births trust. Trust births legacy. Now invert it like a warning label. No discipline, no character, no trust, no legacy. Ecclesiastes cries, woe to you, O land, when your king is a child. 10:16. A child king is an undisciplined soul with a microphone. Their promises are candy. Their policies are cavities. We will not feed our grandchildren sugar. We will serve them substance, measured, principled, consistent. Here is a simple framework you can practice immediately. When facing a decision, run the triad test. 1, discipline. What habit does this require me to keep or break? 2, trust. How will this increase the safety of my word in the minds of those I serve? Generation. In 20 years, will my son or daughter thank me or apologize for me? Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24:15. That is a generational declaration. Make yours. As for me and my house, we will schedule our purpose, guard our trust, and build for those not yet in the room. Let me offer a warning and a promise. The warning, shortcuts spend trust quicker than they save time. The promise, simple disciplines, repeated daily, will accrue interest you cannot imagine. Luke 16:10 whispers again, he who is faithful in little is faithful also in much. Little rhythms build large legacies. Reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. Reduce your calendar to essentials and raise your consistency. Reduce your announcements and raise your accountability. Say this with me like a commissioning. Reset, accept it. Now rebuild with discipline. I will impose order on myself to protect the trust of those I serve. I will measure success not by the next applause, but by the next generation. One generation shall commend your works to another. Psalm 145:4. That is our assignment. That is our architecture. Discipline to guard the vault. Trust to fill it. Legacy to spend it wisely on souls not yet born. From this day, let the triad govern your steps, your sentences, your systems. And may heaven look on our rhythms and say, well done, good and faithful steward. Make a note of this. Architecture without habits is a museum. We are not curating ideas, we are cultivating rhythms. Write this down. Daily self-imposed discipline is the invisible engine of visible leadership credibility. People cannot see your motives, but they can feel your rhythms. Trust doesn't read your mind, it reads your morning. Trust doesn't listen to your slogans, it listens to your schedule. A leader doesn't need external discipline. They impose discipline on themselves. Read together. A leader doesn't need external discipline. They impose discipline on themselves. What did I say? Impose on yourself. If you do not govern you, you cannot be trusted to govern anything else. Begin the day with truth before task. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Truth first makes you free from confusion, from flattery, from fear. Not phone first, throne first. Not scrolling, studying. Not reacting, reflecting. Not pleasing, prioritizing. Write this down. The morning is the steering wheel of the day. Who touches it first determines where you go. So set a daily appointment I call morning alignment. It is simple and it is non-negotiable. Purpose, principles, priorities. 5 minutes of scripture read until you hear yourself in the text. 5 minutes with purpose, declare why you exist in one sentence. 5 minutes with priorities, choose the 3 actions that best protect trust today. Not 8, not everything, 3. Because scattered leaders break promises. Focused leaders keep them. Let me give you language. Stand before the mirror and reduce yourself to your first name. Titles off. Applause off. Just your name. Then say it out loud until it feels like home. I am David. I am Aisha. I am Maria. Reduce yourself to your first name. Raise your standards. Next. Name your gift and who it serves. I am a builder of people. I design systems that dignify. Or, I am a teacher. I make complex wisdom simple so families can flourish. Then ask this. How will I serve my gift today? No performance, only purpose. Write this down. Influence is the perfume of a gift faithfully served. If you serve your gift today, you won't need to perform tomorrow. Now, install a midday integrity check. At the midpoint of your work, excuse yourself for 5 minutes. Not to escape, to examine. Close your door, or sit in your car, or take a short walk. Ask 4 questions and record the answers. 1. Have my words remained true since morning? 2. Did I add any promises? If so, schedule their delivery or revoke them honestly. 3. Who needs clarity from me right now so trust does not decay in silence? 4. What fear is pushing me to please rather than to prioritize? Then make 1 phone call, send 1 clarifying message, or apologize for 1 overreach. Write this down. Integrity leaks at noon. Repair it before dusk. Your yes must be stronger than your excuses, and your no must be holy enough to protect your assignment. Purpose-pleasing is stewardship. People-pleasing is slavery in a tuxedo. As the sun settles, close with an evening review. Not gloom governance, not guilt growth. 10 minutes with a simple tool I call the discipline ledger. Date at the top. Then 3 brief lines. Win, loss, notes. What discipline did I keep and where did I drift? 1 promise kept. Write it with gratitude and tell your soul, well done. 1 temptation declined. Name the appetite you said no to so you remember your strength is growing. Add 2 more lines if you're brave. 1 apology owed. Schedule it for tomorrow morning. 1 system. Improve what small tweak will make tomorrow's fidelity easier than today's willpower. Luke 16:10 is smiling at you. He who is faithful in little is faithful also in much. Little ledgers raise large leaders. Let me illustrate how to translate this into air you can breathe. Morning alignment. Open to Psalm 5-3. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and watch. Read it until your pulse slows. Say your purpose. I exist to cultivate truth and trust. Name your 3 priorities. Finish the policy draft with integrity. Clarify the budget assumptions. Mentor Jacob at 3 p.m. Then put the phone on airplane mode until those 3 are complete. Not scrolling, studying. Read 1 page of a book on your craft, not 10 feeds about other people's performances. This is not legalism. This is liberation. You are freeing your mind from the tyranny of the urgent to serve the sovereignty of the important. At midday, breathe and ask, did I overpromise in the 10 a.m. meeting? If yes, correct it. Send the message. Team, I gave a timeline I cannot meet without risking quality. Here is the revised honest window. That is not weakness. That is weaponized honesty. People can adjust to delays. They cannot recover from deception. Then rehearse the antithesis again, not reacting, reflecting. Before you reply to the provocation in your inbox, take 60 seconds to write the principle you will not violate in your response. Principle before paragraphs. Evening review. Write. Kept my 3 p.m. mentoring appointment, though I was tired when. Drifted into email during deep work loss. Tomorrow's system. Block the website. Set 90-minute focus timer. Promise kept. Delivered the draft on new standards by 4 p.m. Temptation declined. Did not redefine the data to make myself look good. Told the truth and accepted the timeline impact. Apology owed to Linda for interrupting her in the meeting. Schedule 8:15 a.m. call. System improved. Moved my phone charger to the kitchen so the bedroom remains a sanctuary of rest, not a circus of alerts, decently and in order. Read together. Order produces peace. Peace produces clarity. Clarity produces credibility. What did I say? Order, peace, clarity, credibility? That is the river discipline digs through the desert of chaos. Woe to the land when leaders check their feeds more than their motives, when the first voice they hear in the morning is the market and not the master. But blessed are the people whose shepherds begin with truth, align with purpose, and pace themselves by principle. Their word becomes safe. Their presence becomes calming. Their leadership becomes boring in the holiest way, predictably honest, consistently courageous, stubbornly kind. Some of you will say, but I am busy. Busy is not a virtue. It is a confession of disordered loves. Make a note of this. If you do not schedule your soul, someone else will. They will rent your attention and evict your integrity. So set literal alarms. Morning alignment at 6:30 a.m., midday integrity at 12:45 p.m., evening review at 9:30 p.m. Put them in your calendar as standing meetings titled Covenant of Trust. When they ring, you attend because you fear God, honor people, and intend to leave an inheritance of credibility. Let me confess like a father, I once woke up to applause, not to truth. I let headlines tell me who I was. I argued with God at 3:10 a.m. when my words outpaced my worth. He said, son, reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. I obeyed. The applause dimmed. Authority deepened. My team began to breathe easier because my yes meant yes. My children felt safe because my evenings were audits, not alibis. Write this down. Credibility is not charisma. It is cumulative obedience to small disciplines. Now, seal this with a declaration. Say it. I begin with truth before task. I reduce myself to my first name and raise my standards. I will not scroll, I will study. I will not react, I will reflect. I will not please, I will prioritize. At midday, I guard my word. At night, I write my ledger. I serve my gift today, no performance, only purpose. And because I impose discipline on myself, those I serve can rest. One generation shall commend his works to another. Because I made room every day for truth to govern me. That is the spirit of discipline. That is the quiet power that keeps trust safe. Now that the day has been ordered, we must steward the week. Write this down. A weekly trust audit turns integrity from a value on the wall into a practice in the calendar. Read together integrity in the calendar. Why? Because trust is leadership's only spendable currency, and it leaks through the cracks of inconsistency. Make a note of this. Trust leaks through the cracks of inconsistency. Find the leaks weekly, not yearly. Not when a scandal forces you. Weekly. If you don't find the leaks, rumors will. If you don't name the crack, narratives will pour concrete over your mistake and make it a monument. Set an appointment that never moves. The weekly trust audit and repair. Choose a fixed time, Friday at 3 p.m. or Monday at 7 a.m., 45 minutes, with your ledger, your conscience, and your list of names. Put it in your calendar as Covenant of Trust Weekly. When that bell rings, everything else bows. This is not PR. This is priesthood. 2 Corinthians 8:21 says, we aim at what is honorable, not only in the Lord's sight, but also in the sight of man. Aim requires routine. Honorable requires a schedule. During that appointment, ask 4 questions. Write these down and tape them inside your notebook. 1, what did I promise? 2, what did I deliver? 3, where did I delay? 4, whom did I disappoint? Do not generalize. Name the emails, the dates, the meetings, the people. Pull up your calendar and your sent items. Your memory will protect your ego. Your records will protect the truth. For every promise, mark D for delivered, P for pending with a date, and R for renegotiate immediately. Make a note of this. Leaders don't hide from their ledger. They confess to it before it confesses them to the world. Now the triage, relational triage, is simple and holy. Call, confess, correct before rumors become narratives. Read that with me. Call, confess, correct. Not text, not deflect, not project. Call. Your voice is a bridge. Confess. No alibis. No weather reports. No bus to throw someone under. I overpromised. I own it. Correct. Present a clean, realistic path forward. Here is the new date. Here is the standard. Here is what I'm adjusting to ensure quality. Matthew 5:23-24 commands. If you are offering your gift at the altar and remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift. First, be reconciled. Write this down. Reconciliation is worship. Your apology is a liturgy. And hear me well, apology is cheaper than litigation. Prompt repair multiplies trust, not diminishes it. Proverbs 28:13 says, he who conceals his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Mercy is cheaper than lawyers. Honesty saves more money than spin. Leaders, give your team a weekly system that normalizes repair. I call it the 30-minute candor circle. No titles, only truths. Leaders go first. Sit in a circle or on a call and open with this covenant. We are here to protect trust, not egos. Then follow a simple liturgy. 3 rounds, 2 minutes each. Round 1. One promise I kept this week and how I kept it. Round 2. One place I delayed or disappointed and the repair I will execute in 48 hours. Round 3. One request for clarity I need so I do not overpromise next week. The leader begins by confessing first. If you cannot go first, you cannot be trusted to go far. James 5:16 says, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. Healing is corporate when confession is mutual. Write this down. Candor without hierarchy is the incubator of trust. To make this practical, assign a scribe, not to name and shame, but to convert talk into tasks. Every confession becomes a calendar item. Every repair gets a date, an owner, and a check-in. End the circle by praying for courage and by celebrating one visible repair from the previous week. Celebrate truth like you would a sale. What you celebrate, you multiply. Ephesians 4:25 says, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each one of you speak the truth with his neighbor. Put it away weekly. Now let me give you a metric. Write this down and do not complicate it. Create a simple trust score 1 to 5 across your key stakeholders, spouse or family, core team, customers or citizens, partners and suppliers, community leaders or board. Ask this question of each group directly or through a quick anonymous pulse. How safe is my word to you this week? 1 is unsafe. 3 is mostly reliable with gaps. 5 is consistently safe. Record the number. Trend lines, not vanity numbers. What did I say? Trend lines, not vanity numbers. Don't boast about a 5 if last month was a 3 and you faked a smile to get it. Look for the direction of trust. Is it ascending, flat, or declining? If any line trends down 2 weeks in a row, that stakeholder becomes your Monday morning repair priority. Don't hide a 2 behind a marketing campaign. Heal it with a phone call and a clear plan. Some will ask, isn't this exposing our weaknesses? Make a note of this. Concealment is not strength. Clarity is strength. 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds us, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Power is perfected where pretense dies. When you show the team your trust score chart and the repair actions attached, you are not losing authority. You are gaining credibility. Authority grows where humility governs. Let me testify like a father. 1 week, my ledger exposed a pattern. 3 small delays to the same supplier. I wanted to rationalize. Busy season, competing priorities. The Spirit said, call him, confess, correct. I called at 7-2 Monday. Sir, I have been inconsistent with you. No excuses. Here is the corrected schedule. Here is the penalty fee we will absorb. And here is the system I changed so this does not repeat. Silence for a moment. Then he said, thank you. I can work with a man who tells me the truth. We signed a longer contract at a higher trust rate. Write this down. Honesty may cost you a moment. It will buy you a future. Install a simple rule I teach everywhere. The 24-48-7 protocol. Within 24 hours of discovering a breach, acknowledge it to the affected person. Within 48 hours, propose and begin the correction plan. Within 7 days, review the repair in your candor circle and log the outcome in your trust ledger. What did I say? 24, acknowledge. 48, correct. 7, review. This rhythm starves rumors, strengthens relationships, and schools your soul in courage. Include your home. Do not run a candor circle at work and chaos at the dinner table. Once a week, ask your spouse or your children, age appropriately, did dad's or mom's word feel safe this week? 1 to 5. If they say 3, hug them and ask, what repair can I make by Wednesday? Leadership begins where you hang your keys. Deuteronomy 6 told us to talk when you sit, when you walk, when you lie down, when you rise. That is not a sermon schedule. That is a trust schedule. Read together. Apologize quickly. Correct visibly. Communicate repeatedly. What did I say? Quickly. Visibly. Repeatedly. Do not whisper your apology and shout your defense. Flip it. Shout your repair and silence your ego. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Matthew 5:37. If you cannot meet a timeline without lying to yourself, reset the timeline and tell the truth. Your people can live with delays. They cannot live under deception. Here is your assignment. Before this week ends, put the weekly trust audit in your calendar. Prepare the 4 questions on a card. Convene a 30-minute candor circle. Leaders go first. Establish the 24-48-7 protocol. Build a simple trust score sheet across 5 stakeholders and plot the line every week for the next quarter. Then act. Call, confess, correct before rumors become narratives. And as you do, watch Psalm 37:6 come alive. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. Trust is quiet until it shines. Order your week, and it will. We have ordered the day and repaired the week. Now we must outlive the season. Write this down. Monthly legacy reviews convert leadership from seasonal performance to generational stewardship. The week keeps your word safe. The month keeps your world straight. Politicians are concerned about the next election. Leaders are concerned about the next generation. What did I say? Elections versus generations. Statesmen measure in decades, not in news cycles. They are not seduced by headlines. They are anchored by history. Psalm 90:12 prays, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Numbering days is not counting minutes. It is calculating impact. A wise heart paces for centuries. Make a note of this. Poles are weather, principles are climate. If you live by the weather, you will panic. If you govern by the climate, you will plant. Genesis says, seed time and harvest shall not cease. Statesmen think in seed time and harvest, not in sound bites and hashtags. They ask, what seed is this decision planting? And what harvest will my children's children reap? Proverbs 13:22 reminds us again, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. God counts the grandchildren. So schedule your conscience to do the same. Here is the practice. One day every month, book a 90-minute appointment called the Monthly Legacy Review. When that bell rings, everything else bows. This is not public relations. This is priestly governance. Go alone if possible. Bring a Bible, your purpose statement, your non-negotiable principles, your calendar, your budget, and one picture either of your children or, if you have none, a picture of empty shoes to represent those not yet here. Sit with the future and ask the past for counsel. Ecclesiastes says, there is a time for everything. This is the time for posterity. The review has three altars: purpose, principles, and posterity. First altar, purpose. Read your purpose out loud until your pulse slows. Reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. Say it. I am Ruth. I exist to cultivate justice with mercy. Or, I am Daniel. I design systems that dignify humans. Then open to Psalm 78 and read, we will tell the next generation, so they should set their hope in God. Tell your soul, I am not here to be remembered, I am here to be responsible. True leadership is not about being famous, it is about making others fruitful. Second altar, principles. Lay your last 30 days of decisions before your non-negotiables. Read together Gandhi's warning, roll call like guardrails on a mountain road, politics without principles, wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice. Now, with fear and trembling, ask, did any of my decisions flirt with these divorces? Where did I practice politics without principles to win a headline? Where did I push wealth without work by exploiting instead of equipping? Where did I consume pleasure without conscience under the banner of self-care while breaking a covenant? Where did I parade knowledge without character, clever words with hollow virtue? Where did I run commerce without morality profit, unchaperoned by people? Where did I advance science without humanity efficiency that erased faces? Where did I perform worship without sacrifice, songs without integrity? Circle the violations. Write a repentance line beside each and a corrective policy beneath it. Make a note of this. Principles without practice are poetry. Principles with practice become policy. Third altar, posterity. Now test each major decision, policy, partnership, and appointment with one question aloud. If my grandchildren lived under this policy, would they bless me or curse me? Speak it out so your ears convict your ambition. Bless or curse, mark it B or C. For every C, draft a course correction this month. Some of you must cancel a flashy program that mortgages tomorrow for applause today. Some must lengthen timelines so your yes can be true. Some must choose an honest partner over a rich one. Matthew 6:21 says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Your budget is a moral document. If your ledger funds noise over nurture, you have located your heart. Reallocate until the unborn would bless you. To anchor this work, build a simple legacy ledger, 5 lines only. 1. Succession, health. Did we document and train someone younger to do what only I can do? 2. Investment in the young hours and resources directed to apprentices, scholarships, internships, the nursery of capacity. 3. Debt to the future promises made that someone else must pay for. Reduce it monthly. 4. Stewardship of place. How did our decisions treat land, water, neighborhoods? Leave places better than you found them. 5. Culture of truth. Did we tell inconvenient truths that protect generations from convenient lies? Record a number 1 to 5 on each, then write one action for the coming month. Trend lines, not vanity numbers. What did I say? Trend lines, not vanity numbers. If any line drops twice in a row, that becomes your first agenda item next month. Woe to the land when a slave becomes king. Ecclesiastes 10:16. A slave is not a skin tone. It is a mind bound to appetites and applause. A slave king leads for the crowd because he needs the crowd to feel like a king. Free your mind from applause addiction. You were not elected to be affirmed. You were appointed to be accountable. Let me warn you with love. Applause is sugar sweet today, sick tomorrow. Principle is bread quiet today, strong tomorrow. Israel asked for a king to be like the nations. They traded revelation for reputation and inherited sorrow. Do not lead to be like the nations. Lead to be a nation builder. Set a liturgy for the 90 minutes. Minute 110. Stillness and scripture read Psalm 90, Psalm 78, or Isaiah 58 to 12. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. Let that sentence appoint you. Minute 11:25. Purpose aloud. Then circle any activity that does not serve it. Prune it. Minute 26:50. Gandhi guardrails, mark violations, and write corrections. Minute 51:70. Posterity test, bless or curse beside each policy, partnership, and public statement. Minute 71:85. Budget and calendar alignment. Move money and meetings to reflect what matters. Minute 86:90. Draft a legacy letter to those not yet here. This month, we chose honesty over optics. We funded apprentices over advertising. We slowed a project to protect quality. We planted trees we may not see. File it where your team can read it and your conscience can remember it. True leadership is calendar courage. It is the audacity to schedule the future into the present. Make a note of this. Legacy is the residue of your decisions on people you will never meet. If you cannot see their faces, hold their shoes. Put baby shoes on the desk while you draft policy. Let the empty souls preach to you. They are the silent citizens of your conscience. They cannot vote. They cannot protest. They cannot lobby, but they will live in whatever you legislate today. Let me confess as a father, I once shortened everything to win a quarter. Quicker turnarounds, cheaper inputs, louder announcements. My numbers smiled. My soul did not. At 3 one morning, I argued with God. He said, son, you are building speed bumps, not highways. Schedule your grandchildren. I began the monthly legacy review. The applause thinned. The foundation thickened. Our debt to the future dropped. Our apprentices rose. My sleep returned. Write this down. The peace you want is on the other side of a longer horizon. Now seal it with a declaration. Say it with me. I lead beyond elections. I schedule the future. I trade polls for principles. Applause for accountability. Speed for seed. Each month I kneel at purpose. I test by principles. I govern for posterity. If my grandchildren lived under this policy, they will bless me. One generation shall commend his works to another. I will be found faithful in my month. And may heaven say over our calendars what Paul said over his life. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Faith keeps time by centuries. Schedule yours. Now that we have scheduled the future into the present, you may ask, where does the power come from to keep these rhythms when applause fades? Write this down. Sustainable influence flows from a discovered identity and a disciplined service of your God-given gift. True leadership is about becoming, not just doing. Doing without becoming is performance. Becoming produces power. Influence doesn't start with a press release. It starts with a revelation. Jeremiah 1-5 thunders, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. God knew you before you knew work, before you knew titles, before you knew cameras. That means identity precedes activity. Purpose precedes programs. Make a note of this. True leadership is the expression of who you are, not the impression you make. People can feel the difference. They are allergic to pretense and attracted to authenticity. Proverbs 18:16 declares, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Not his marketing, not his costume, his gift. Find your gift and serve it. People will discover you serving, not selling. Write this down. People are attracted to authenticity, not advertisements. If you must shout to be seen, you haven't yet found the frequency of your gift. Strip now. Reduce yourself to your first name. Take off the rank, the degrees, the medals, the brand. Say your name out loud where you are. Again, say it. Then ask this harsh and holy question. Who am I without the costume? Where did he make me necessary? I am not asking what you do. I am asking who you are. Ephesians 2:10 reminds us, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. The work already exists in the mind of God. Identity is the map to find it. Read together. Identity is the map. Write this down. Your self-image sets your leadership ceiling. Upgrade the mirror before you upgrade the strategy. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Not so he seems, so he is. If you carry a slave self-concept into a palace, you will still ask permission to be yourself. If you carry a son's identity into a wilderness, you will still multiply bread. Strategy fails where self-contempt lives. True leaders lead from image, not image management. Before you change your plan, change your picture. Let me confess as a father, I once chased microphones and missed my assignment. I wanted rooms with 1,000 faces, and God gave me 12 chairs in a rented classroom. I argued with him. He said, son, serve your gift to the 12. I will bring the 1,000 when your character can carry it. I taught those 12 until my throat ached and my notes bled. One of those 12 introduced me to a mayor. The mayor introduced me to a cabinet. The cabinet introduced me to a continent. My gift made room, not my ambition. Write this down. When your gift serves faithfully in small rooms, God will trust you with big ones. Now receive this into your bones. Say it loud. I am necessary. Say it again until your fear blushes. I am necessary. You are not optional inventory in heaven's warehouse. You are assigned. Romans 12:6 says, having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us use them. Use them. Don't admire them. Don't compare them. Don't bury them. 1 Peter 4:10 commands. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. Service is the proof that you believe your identity. Service is the fruit of purpose. To make this unavoidably practical, here is your 7-day gift inventory. Do not complicate it. Obey it. Day 1, joy. For 20 minutes, list activities that make you lose track of time and leave you energized. Joy is the scent of purpose. Circle the top 3. Day 2, skill. Write the tasks you do with uncommon ease that others struggle with. Don't be modest. Be honest. Ask, what do I do in half the time with twice the quality? Circle 3. Day 3, pain you can solve. List the problems that make you righteously angry. Inefficiency, injustice, ignorance, broken systems. Your compassion identifies your assignment. Circle 3. Day 4, witnesses. Call 3 people who have benefited from you. Ask them, what problem did I solve for you? What do you come to me for first? What do you miss when I'm not in the room? Record exact phrases. Truth lives in their words. Day 5, fruit. Review your last 12 months. Where did your effort produce disproportionate results? Not hype fruit. Draw a line from joy, skill, pain, witnesses, and fruit, and look for the intersection. That intersection is a clue to your gift. Day 6, align. Open next week's calendar. Delete one activity that does not serve the intersection. Add 1 60-minute block labeled serve my gift. Teaching, designing, coaching, building, healing, whatever your gift does. Schedule like oxygen. Everything else bows. Day 7, serve and review. Actually deliver the service you scheduled to a real person or team. Then journal. What flowed? What struggled? What feedback did I receive? Refine and repeat next week. Make a note of this. Influence is not pursued. It is attracted by faithfulness to your gift. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. He did not say, make your light shout. He said, let it shine. Shining is consistent service. Your daily discipline feeds the light. Your weekly trust audit clears the glass. Your monthly legacy review aims the beam at the next generation. The same triad stands: discipline produces trust, trust authorizes impact, impact becomes legacy. But the fuel is identity. Without purpose, discipline becomes punishment. With purpose, discipline becomes worship. Now, a word to title collectors: reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. The more titles you need, the less you understand who you are. When David faced Goliath, he wore no title, only a sling and a history with God. Identity is armor. Purpose is aim. Gift is sling. Giants still fall before people who know who they are. Do not impersonate Saul when heaven anointed David. Lead as yourself. Stand up in your soul and declare this with me. I am necessary. I am his workmanship. I was known before I was formed. My gift is my assignment. My service is my signature. I will upgrade my mirror before I upgrade my strategy. I will not advertise what I refuse to become. I will serve my gift daily, guard my trust weekly, steward my legacy monthly. And when the Lord of the talents returns, may I hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Matthew 25-23. Not well said, well done. True leadership is who you become for the sake of others. Now go, become, and serve. Now we move from revelation to regimen, from principle to pattern. Write this down. The 90-day rebuild is 30-60-90. Install rhythm, stabilize trust, scale service. A simple cadence: daily discipline, weekly trust audits, monthly legacy reviews, transforms, reset chaos into ordered progress. Nehemiah rebuilt a wall in 52 days because the scripture says the people had a mind to work. Nehemiah 4-6. If they could set stones in a storm, you can set habits in a reset. True leadership is calendar courage, the audacity to schedule your convictions. First 30 days, master the day. Install one non-negotiable discipline and keep one promise every day. What did I say? One discipline, one promise. Choose a keystone that protects your gift and your character. An hour of focused work on your assignment before checking messages. Or 30 minutes of scripture and stillness at dawn. Or a 20-minute integrity review before you sleep. Don't choose 10, choose one and make it holy. Psalm 5:3 says, in the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait in expectation. Morning sets monarchy. Then, each day, make and keep one visible promise. It can be small. Return a call by 4 p.m. Deliver a draft by noon. Send a summary you vowed. Apologize by sunset. Matthew 5:37 commands, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Write this down. Daily credibility is built by promises kept on schedule. Build a simple daily ledger. 3 lines. Line 1, purpose. Read it out loud at dawn. Reduce yourself to your first name and raise your standards. Line 2, discipline. Name your one non-negotiable. Time it and check it complete. Line 3, promise. Write one promise you will keep today to a real person. Write the name. Deliver it before you sleep. At 8 p.m., audit. Did I keep the discipline? Did I keep the promise? If you failed, write the repair you will execute within 24 hours. Lamentations 3:23 whispers, his mercies are new every morning. New mercies are not an excuse to be sloppy. They are power to become consistent. Measure your adherence number of days you completed, both divided by days in the month. Don't aim for perfection, aim for faithfulness. Luke 16:10 teaches, he that is faithful in little is faithful also in much. Faithfulness is counted in little. Days 31-60 stabilize the week. Institutionalize the weekly trust audit and make trust visible. Choose a fixed 45 minutes in your calendar that never moves. You already have the protocol. Call, confess, correct. The 24-48-7 rhythm, acknowledge within 24 hours, begin correction within 48, review within 7. Now, publish your trust metrics to your team. Make a note of this. Secrecy breeds suspicion. Visibility builds credibility. 2 Corinthians 8:21. We aim at what is honorable, not only in the Lord's sight, but also in the sight of man. Put your trust score trend on a shared board or weekly email. 5 stakeholders: home, core team, customers or citizens, partners, community board. Ask the same question weekly. How safe is my word to you? Record the numbers. What did I say? Trend lines, not vanity numbers. Add the 3 0-minute candle circle each week. Leaders go first. Begin with this covenant. We are here to protect trust, not egos. Report 1 kept promise, 1 delay with a repair that starts within 48 hours, and 1 clarity request to avoid overpromising next week. Appoint a scribe to convert confessions into calendar items. End with celebration of 1 visible repair. Proverbs 28:13 says, whoever conceals his sins will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Mercy becomes momentum when confession becomes routine. By day 60, your team should be able to answer without a meeting. Here is how we protect trust weekly. Leaders, scripted, say it plainly. Here is our purpose. Here are our principles. Here is how we protect trust weekly. Trust audit at 7 a.m. Monday. Candle circle Wednesday at 4. 24-48-7 on all breaches. Trust score published Friday noon. Make a note of this. Integrity is strongest when it is scheduled, shared, and simple. Days 61 to 90 scale service to generations. Conduct 3 legacy reviews and codify your principles into policy. Schedule them day 60, day 75, and day 90 to build muscle. Each review has the 3 altars: purpose, principles, posterity. Read your purpose until your pulse slows. Lay your decisions over your non-negotiables. Then test each policy and partnership with this aloud. If my grandchildren lived under this, would they bless me or curse me? Record B or C. For every C, write the course correction and begin it within the next 14 days. Isaiah 58:12 appoints you. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. Raise is a verb. Schedule it. Now, codify principles. 1 page only, 10 lines or fewer. Example, we will never practice politics without principles. We will not mortgage tomorrow to appear strong today. We will tell the truth early, even when it costs. We will choose apprentices over applause. We will budget for posterity before publicity. We will not scale what breaks people. Pin this in your office, your intranet, your boardroom. Tie each principle to 1 policy and 1 budget line. What you fund is what you believe. Matthew 6:21. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Then sunset 1 activity that steals from posterity. Write this down. Repentance has a calendar. Choose 1 program, partnership, or pattern that makes you look impressive today while robbing your children tomorrow. Debt without a plan, hype without training, speed without standards. Announce the sunset date, honor any people impacted, reassign budget to apprenticeships, scholarships, or systems that dignify humans. Psalm 78 commands us to tell the next generation so they set their hope in God. Hope has invoices. Pay them this quarter. Here is your scorecard. 3 measures, simple and strong. 1, discipline, adherence, percentage, days. You completed your 1 discipline and 1 promise divided by total days. Target 80% and ascending. 2, trust trend average. Trust score across your 5 stakeholder groups. Color the line green for rising, yellow for flat, red for declining 2 weeks in a row. Red triggers immediate repair on Monday. 3, generational impact proxy count apprentices mentored, policies revised to protect posterity, and families served through tangible support or systemic improvement. Don't inflate the numbers. Water them with truth. James 3:17 says wisdom is first pure, then peaceable. Purity before publicity. Citizens, make an appointment to see your leader, mayor, principal, pastor, manager, whoever leads where you live, be respectful and firm. Ask 3 questions and wait for answers. 1, what is your purpose? 2, what is your passion? 3, what are your principles? If they answer with slogans, ask, where is that written? How does your calendar and budget prove it? Do not argue. Record. Pray for them and follow up in 30 days. Write this down. A nation rises when citizens ask principled questions with consistent calendars. You are necessary to your city's conscience. Leaders, here is your script. Gather your team and your stakeholders this week. Stand with your first name and your standards. Here is our purpose. Read it slowly. Here are our principles. 10 lines or fewer. Here is how we protect trust weekly. Explain the audit, the candor circle, the 24-48-7 protocol, the published trust score. Then show your scorecard. Don't hide a red line. Heal it. Invite questions. Commit to 1 repair within 48 hours and 1 legacy correction by day 90. This is not PR. This is priesthood. 2 Corinthians 12-9 reminds us, my power is made perfect in weakness. Your candid weakness will make room for God's power and your people's strength. Let me testify like a father. I ran this 30-60-90 with a small team in a hard season. Day by day, 1 discipline, 1 promise. Week by week, 1 audit, 1 repair. Every 15 days at the end, 1 legacy review, 1 sunset. We lost some applause. We gained sleep. A supplier extended terms. A young intern became a manager. A flashy project died. A training pipeline was born. By day 90, our trust score was up 1 point, 2 points on average. Our discipline adherence was 83%. We mentored 5 apprentices and retired 1 debt-heavy program. Write this down. Quiet numbers become loud credibility. Now seal this with a declaration. Say it with me. For the next 90 days, I will discipline myself to protect trust daily. I will keep 1 promise. Weekly, I will audit and repair. Monthly, I will review for legacy. I trade chaos for cadence, panic for principle, speed for seed. I lead beyond elections. I steward for generations. Philippians 3:16 says, only let us live up to what we have already attained. We know enough to start. Do not wait for perfect. Obey what you know today. Galatians 6-9 promises, do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Your due season is waiting on your due schedule. True leadership is not dramatic. It is disciplined. Not about power, about empowerment. Not about headlines, about heritage. If you will give God 90 days of ordered obedience, He will give you the beginning of a generational name. And when they ask in year 10 what changed everything, you will smile and say, a calendar, a conscience, and a covenant, discipline, trust, and the next generation 30, 60, 90. Now go and build. Lift your voice where you are and read together. I will discipline myself to protect trust. I will lead for the next generation. Again, with conviction. I will discipline myself to protect trust. I will lead for the next generation. Write this down. Covenants are not feelings. Covenants are decisions wrapped in schedules. Psalm 15 describes the one who may dwell with God as the person who swears to his own hurt and does not change. Your yes will be tested after the meeting. So we seal this now with action. Take out your calendar. Yes? Now, make a note of this. If it is not in your calendar, it is not in your covenant. Schedule your first weekly trust audit before the day ends. Choose a fixed time and lock it. Monday 7 a.m. or Wednesday 4 p.m. But choose and make it holy. Then schedule your first monthly legacy review day, 30 from today, exact hour, exact place. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain, that he may run who reads it. If you don't write it, you won't run it. And if you won't run it, your household will limp. Now, anchor your why. Where did he meet you? In a hospital corridor at 314A? In a spreadsheet that exposed a lie? In a classroom where one child asks you why adults always break promises? Write it down. Anchor your why to your rhythms. I met him in a rented room with 12 chairs and more doubts than dollars. He whispered, son, make people safe in your presence. Keep your word. Protect their dignity. Build for their children. I wrote it. I dated it. And when fatigue came, that meeting became my fuel. Deuteronomy 8:2 says, remember the way the Lord your God led you. Memory is medicine to a tired leader. Read together. Memory is medicine. Make a note of this. True leadership is not about control. It is about service. True leadership is not about applause. It is about accountability. True leadership is not about titles. It is about testimony. Not the performance of authority, but the discipline of purpose that empowers others. What did I say? Not control, service, not applause, accountability, not titles, testimony. Let this be your benediction and your brand. Now the charge. Bring your team. Bring your family. Install the rhythms in your house and your house of governance. At your kitchen table this week, stand with your first name and your standards. Read your purpose aloud. Then set the family trust audit, 15 minutes every Sunday night. Did we keep our word? Where did we fall? What is the repair by Wednesday? Joshua 24:15 declares, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Serving the Lord looks like serving each other with kept promises. Then set the family legacy review once a month. What are we funding that our children will bless? What are we practicing that our grandchildren will have to repent of? Repentance has a calendar. So does legacy. In your office, in your council, in your cabinet, gather the people and install the same cadence. Publish the trust audit time. Post the 24/48/7 repair protocol. Announce the first legacy review date and the 3 altars: purpose, principles, posterity. Tie it to budget and policy. Proverbs 3:3-4 says, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Then you will win favor and a good name. Favor follows faithfulness, not fame. Write this down. Blessing and warning are twins. I bless you with Proverbs 18:16. May your gift make room for you and bring you before great men. But woe to the vision that forgets its principles. Ecclesiastes 10:16 warns, woe to you, O land, when your king is a child, when immaturity sits on thrones. Immaturity loves applause more than accountability, image more than integrity, speed more than seed. Woe to the leader who trades trust for trending. Woe to the mansion built on broken promises. God have mercy on the house that confuses charisma for character. But blessed is the leader who binds their soul to principle. Such a one shall not fear the heat when it comes. Jeremiah 17:8. Here are your next steps. Simple and sacred. 1. Today, lock the calendar first. Weekly trust audit. First monthly legacy review. Time and place fixed. 2. Within 24 hours, send a 2-sentence covenant note to your stakeholders. Here is our purpose. Here is how we will protect trust weekly. Here is when we will review legacy monthly. No essays. Clarity is kindness. 3. Within 7 days, hold your first trust audit and execute 1 repair within 48 hours. Psalm 37:5 says, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him and he will act. God acts where we commit. 4. Within 30 days, sunset 1 activity that steals from posterity and reassign the budget to apprentices, systems, or families. 5. Before 90 days, show your scoreboard: discipline, adherence, trust, trend, generational proxy. Don't decorate the numbers, deliver them. Say this with me as a covenant. I bind my leadership to discipline. I bind my discipline to trust. I bind my trust to the next generation. I will not advertise what I refuse to become. I will not seek followers. I will serve my gift. I will keep 1 promise daily, audit and repair weekly, review for legacy monthly. I will discipline myself to protect trust. I will lead for the next generation. Again, let it settle into your bones. I will discipline myself to protect trust. I will lead for the next generation. Now lift your hands like you are receiving a commission. May the Lord establish the work of your hands. Yes, establish the work of your hands. Psalm 90:17. May your convictions become calendars, your calendars become credibility, and your credibility become a canopy under which children can dream without fear. May your words be few and your yes be fierce. May you never confuse activity for assignment, speed for seed, applause for authority, or popularity for purpose. And hear this warning in love. If ever you drift from principle, stop, return, repair. Remember, for what you tolerate in private, you will legislate in public. What you schedule, you will sustain. What you neglect, you will lose. I feel a father's joy and a prophet's urgency. Go now and install this covenant in your house and in your house of governance. Make the calendar your altar, the audit your incense, the review your offering. And when years from now, a child you have never met studies under a light you funded, drinks clean water from a system you reformed, or trusts a leader because you protected that word, heaven will record that on this day you made a covenant of trust. Not well said, well done. Go and build for those who are not yet here.